Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And it was 24 metres, Spook.
It's 24.5, wasn't it?
24.56.
You'd
24.96.
You'd take that, wouldn't you?
I'd take it.
Rankine would want to take it.
He took it to, he was going to take it to 30, he said.
Do you love all
He
the...
said that, he goes, when this sucker hits 85, you're going to see some serious shit.
Do you love all the dissections?
From Twitter!
On X.
Oh, that's what I was getting to. Is X, is it this week?
It's people doing the maths going, well, that would mean each stride was this long and, you know, felt like breaking down the mathematics and the calculations, and I'm like, those fucking shades of grass are like 9.5 metres, that's what they're saying.
I've heard justifications around, everyone who kicks out runs 40 metres before they kick the ball. No one gets pinged for too far there. Even to the point where players who have excessively long run-ups, like Ben Brown, take a lot of steps without bouncing the ball. Shouldn't they be pinged? It's become farcical, some of the justifications with it. The simple fact of the matter is he infringed the rule.
Oh, it's just, I guess, they don't pay that rule often enough.
Well, that's almost irrelevant. They paid this one, and it was there.
Well, I was going to bring this up later. I might as well go for it. Did he run too far?
Mm-hmm.
So shut the fuck up. I mean, I said this after the Jack Higgins goal when Sekilda played us and he kicked it from outside the boundary. Did the umpire pay it? Yes, so it's a goal. So all this, did he run too far? It's like fucking Harms tapping the ball in. Was it in, out? Doesn't matter. It was paid in, so it's fucking in.
That's it. You can't go back and unchange it.
Yes. Unchange it. So
unchange it.
Leave it the same.
It's impossible.
See, leave it the same. You wouldn't change it. What did you think of this match against the Crows?
Oh, we're talking about this. We're talking about the footy.
We'll talk about it for a little bit.
I thought we were talking about Disney Star Wars. It says Disney Star Wars there.
Yeah.
That's
a good story
for another time. Yeah, look, obviously you're...
What an apologist you are.
You're full of hate about this game. I've never seen you so angry about a game before. Look, I didn't think it was that bad in the context of things. I think this is going to be one of those things where you use the word context a lot. To lose two of the pretend key forwards so early in the game, and a forward line where the only recognisable bloke was Bobby Hill, and the fact that they scored reasonably well and diverse was impressive. It was an up against the game. He probably was a little bit nervous going in. Adelaide's not a terrible side, apart from their ladder position, as you pointed out, but they've had a lot of close losses this year. They've been battling extremely well. For whatever reason, they play well against us. They're almost a problem side, like Hawthorn.
Like Hawthorn, yeah.
Look, I think to get away with the 4 points was extremely good.
Excuse me. My issue wasn't...
I can't believe how much you hate it.
Exclusively with this game, because you didn't get to see some of it as it was going on.
No. Again, I'm watching from the benefit of how comfortable is the replay.
Yeah, but you asked me like, can we hold on? And at that stage was about midway through the last quarter. I thought, we'll hold on, not comfortably, but it was going to be what it became. And then I said to you, it's like the Melbourne qualifying final where we killed them in the first quarter and a bit, and then just spent the rest of the game fucking mopping up rebounds and shit like that. And I was thinking about that. It's like, that's still a methodology for this team. Is they'll look dominant at periods, and then they'll just go missing for like long chunks, and then they're just defending. And so often they'll get the ball in the defensive 50 and they'll just bomb it out, and then they have to set up and defend again. And I was like, why does that keep happening? Because surely there is some sort of quirk there they need to address to stop that happening and to arrest the opposition momentum. Because it was really interesting for the first quarter on the bit. I was like, we should win this one relatively comfortably. Finally, we should beat Adelaide. We should treat them the way the ladder positions reflect. And it didn't turn into that. It became a real scrap. And really, from about with 10 minutes to go in the second quarter to pretty much the final siren, they killed us. They smashed us everywhere but on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I did hear Niall say that they clearly dominated for about 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
And we managed to get away with the win, which is probably pretty much bang on. I mean, the context at the time, is that word again? I was driving back from kids basketball and just listening to the last quarter, and it was just defensive.
That's what it was like.
It was just it was hard to visualise in your head that we just weren't going to be any attacking. And as they were chipping away at goals, what was our lead at 3/4 time? It was about
At 3/4 time, it was 17 points.
They kicked the first 3. It was like you could see it coming though, or not that I could see it, but when you're playing such a defensive game, eventually you manage to probably sneak one through. It didn't sound like that we were setting up for any great massive sort of counter or anything like that.
Well, you watched the replay, so it was interesting because the commentators made the point, which I thought was accurate, that we're sort of playing this defensive chip around sort of game. And then once Adelaide hit the lead, it was like they were saying, this is almost like what Collingwood needs to trigger, and that's exactly what happened. Then they play that real helter-skelter game, which makes everyone nervous because they just fucking attack. If they don't have the ball, they're just constantly swarming in. They're winning spillage and all that sort of stuff, and then they go forward. And, you look at that last play that resulted in the goal. That was really textbook Collingwood. It's almost, in certain ways, duplicate of what happened with, go back a couple of years ago when we beat Carlton in the last couple of minutes. Out from defensive half, just going straight down the middle and creating an opportunity. So it's really interesting that we need that. I would like, 2 years and a bit in, and I know people go, you can play and run the flag, what more would you want? Wouldn't you take that? But would have thought that, look, there's some little hole in the game plan or the attitude or whatever it is, that opposition, that's where they're sneaking in and putting pressure on us.
Do you think it's a case of self-belief that they get into that situation?
Probably it is.
They have better control over the outcome? Because I think when you go from the hunted to the hunter, you would shift mindsets around that. And clearly we reacted pretty quickly once they got their nose in front. And that was a fucking fair goal that Rankine dribbled through just quietly too.
But I
think maybe did they approach that last quarter as you 3 or whatever it is goals up at this stage. Yeah, they're chipping it away at it, but without any great sort of sense of they're not banging them on rapidly one after another. That you can think, well, we can probably defensively hold this off and then just try and maintain enough control, wind the clock down, even though you're doing it from a fair bit of time out.
To be fair to Collingwood, in terms of they had Hoskin Elliott subbed out and McInnes also out with concussed, so they were one rotation down. I don't know,
which would have been a factor on
and I think the goalie being full forward and also now he's potentially not playing this week shows that I think probably his groin was playing up, which is why they threw him down to full forward. So obviously we didn't have the manpower to rotate and play frantically, and what you say is accurate because Adelaide kicked 3-1 in the first quarter, 3-2 in the second, 2-2 in the third, and then 3-3 in the last. They were pretty steady with their output. They never sort of had the big 6-goal quarter, which they had to worry it was going to overrun them. But yeah, I just wish we didn't have to get in those positions because at some point it's probably going to bite them that a team's going to overrun them and it's just going to be one bridge too far to come back.
It's a stark contrast from the game last week.
Interesting thing going into the game when they named the side, that Kruger was an emergency and Ash Johnson was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, they held Kruger over too from the VFL game.
I didn't even know they held him over.
So which is it's a bit of an odd one considering what the outcome of the game was. Now, you just to fast forward to obviously next week, either one or of Ash or Kruger has to play. Kruger's chronically underdone with game time. If you think if he's the one that's more than likely going to get the nod ahead of Ash, he's now hasn't played a game for 2 weeks.
I think they'd have to play Ash. We'll talk about that more later, but I wouldn't be saying to Kruger, who's had the soft tissue injuries, hey, go sit on a 6-hour flight to West Australia.
Well, that's a fair point too. Yeah. All right.
So Nick Dagos, disposable by foot.
Yeah, what was his efficiency? You got the
I think it was up to about 7%.
So his one last kick was the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I think he ticked every other tickable box brilliantly, though some of his disposal was not on par with what you're expecting of him. But as you pointed out, some of those clearance ones are just banging on the boot. That'd count as an ineffective kick, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, really. But that's statistics. They can mean whatever you want them to mean at the end of the day. But no, that aside, he played a brilliant game.
well, you look at him and you think, where would they be without him?
Well, he racked up, 10 of the coaches' votes, so it was pretty
Did you get all 10? Okay, cool. Oh, well, yeah.
He said, though, this one goes up to 11.
Mason Cox, struggling.
Yeah, he is. He was there when it counted at the end. Yeah, I mean, those two instances. I mean, the one that, actually, it's probably 3, really. That pushing the side that was paid a free, touch and go, as you said before. Those ones can go either way. Maybe we should storm Twitter and complain about it.
X. Yeah.
X? Twitter X?
Should accuse the umpires of being xenophobic.
Why? What is it where you're fearful of height? Claustrophobic?
Acrophobia? I don't know. Go on.
Yeah, whatever. Vertigo. Were they vertigists?
That's not a fear of heights. That's a
condition. It's a fear of birth signs.
Fear of this show, maybe.
Why would you fear this show when no one watches?
They'll listen.
Are they listening?
Yeah, go on.
Hello.
You take that.
What was the question? Yeah, no. Well, that epic. I mean, the one I think I loved he did in that was that punch over in the pocket. Like, I didn't think it was capable of a bloke that size to get that high off the ground.
He jumped and he killed everyone too, which is really good.
It was like watching my bowling ball scattering 9 pins.
It's like I said. I mean, it's probably one of the few times he's been able to run unencumbered without 9 defenders hanging off him. I actually think it's an interesting one because his best role would be the main ruck, but Cameron's doing so well there.
Yeah, and look, he's obviously been used as a top-up forward and probably will be again this week. I just don't think it's one of those things. I think when he kicks 2 or 3 a game, but they're opportunistic ones. When he's not spending the whole sort of time pretty much in the forward line, it's probably easy for him to look like he's not doing enough because there's not much to do, if that makes sense. Yeah,
no, I agree. Finley McCrae watch.
Yeah, look, you were bagging the fuck out of him. On the guy, I didn't even know some of the swear words you were using. I didn't think when I sat down and watched the replay, I thought some of the work, and I'm looking for positives. Some of the work that he does in close is good. Like what was his final numbers? He ended up with about 18 possessions or something, didn't he?
12.
Well, yeah. I think part of it is you've built up. You want him to be so good that your expectations are quite high. Now, we've often talked about you need a consistent run at it, and I think that's what he's demonstrating. It's just not doing it with any sense of, I'm not sure that you look like you always belong yet. You dominate at VFL at a level that says, fucking pick me, but when you're getting there, you're doing a couple of nice little things. It just doesn't seem enough. But, how much leeway do you give him? He's not how old is he? Well,
29.
He's about 29 now.
Yeah.
He's been in the system for a few years. Yeah, look, it's a hard one to quantify. Yeah, you see him blokes like, Sullivan and Richards coming in, to a lesser extent this week, and having an immediate impact at a level that Finn's been doing for a couple of years. It's sort of hard to quantify that there's something extra there, and you're waiting for that breakout moment or breakout game where he masses 25 and has some real clear impact on things.
Watching him, I think he's too slight. He's got a sort of Dane Swan build, but he doesn't have the Dane Swan endurance of run. He looks like he needs to bulk up because to me, he just sort of seems slight and gets pushed off in traffic and hustled out of it and all that. And if that's his game, I think if he actually increases his bulk and size, he could be a lot more effective. But right now, I think he's pretty bland and, give him a run at it, great. But
I think he's going to have a run at it now.
Oh, well, there's no one else. But I think when you get young players, you look at them and go, okay, what am I seeing in you? I'll need to see 1 or 2 things, and that gives me a bit of hope. And I don't quite see that. With him, he might do sort of some nicey swings, but it's not like they're very much cameos where you think, well, you're just going to be this sort of guy who that's all you ever do, like the cameos. You're not a small forward where that's going to be your show bag as it is. They're trying to groom you to be a midfielder, so you do need to be getting 20, 25 stats at least.
Mm-hmm.
Harvey Harrison.
I love his work in close. How much ground time did he end up with? Because he was subbed on.
I don't have it on these stats, so thanks for...
Was he subbed on when Hoskin went off, wasn't it? So when was that?
Well...
Midway through the second?
It was midway through the second. It was actually midway through the first, but I didn't notice until midway through the second.
You just suddenly, there was a floating head on the sideline.
Well, McCrae turned to the bench and said,
"The fuck are you doing here?"
"Why have I got 6 on the bench?" "Oh, Huskers." And he said, "I went off with a hamstring a quarter ago." And McCrae goes, "Oh, okay, better get you on, Harvey." So he ran on a quarter late.
Yeah, what was his numbers in the end?
8 disposals, 7 handballs, 1 kick, 1 mark.
I reckon all 7 of those handballs were really fucking brilliant and tight. Like he's got sure hands in traffic. I think he's one to keep an eye on and certainly keeping the team at the moment.
Lockie Schultz?
I think that was his best game he played for us, even though you loathed it. And when I suggested that before, you were vomiting into a bin. No, I think that was great. It was a great game. That last quarter was very good for him.
Yeah, you should have got a freever at the very end too on the wing.
Oh, can you put that on Twitter? X?
Oh, yeah.
Twitter's a better name than X.
Not tell Elon.
You mean Mr. X?
Izak Rankine?
Yeah, he had a good smother, didn't he?
Yeah. I'll tell you what I really like, which hasn't been mentioned, because the smother I think is half-ass, because it's just sort of throwing my hands out and it hits it. Ball comes, I can't remember who picked it up, but they handball it back to him, and Nick Dacos is right in front of him, and Nick's going, "Give me the ball," and Quaynor shaped the handball to Nick, but then sort of looked inboard about 10 metres further, and there's Crisp in the middle, and they're all sort of moving forward, and he's gone, "No, we'll go to Crisp instead, he's in a much better position." And to actually do that, to actually sort of be able to be a player goes, because Nick Dacos, when he calls for it, most people are going to give it to him. So for the Quaynor to actually go, actually, that's a better option with Crisp, in that split second, was, I thought, really, really good. It's unheralded. So I really liked that. And that pretty much set up that last goal, because Crisp had a really good run. It allowed Nick to come on the inside unimpeded, because Dawson was chasing Crisp. And then Crisp, when he slipped over, he had Nick Dacos running past. And Nick was able to take the handball and kick it out to the goalie, who got off the lead on Keane, and Keane, proving he still played for Collingwood, slipped over.
No, you're right. That was good. But other than that, he hasn't been setting the world on fire this year, which is...
Well, there's some people are saying to me he's bulked up too much, and he just...
Possibility.
I don't know. Markov?
Was he out there? What was his numbers? About 3 again?
4 and 4.
I'm not sure what he's doing out there.
He seems not to be playing that same role. I don't know if it's because of their lack of height and shit, whether he's playing more of a stay-at-home role, because he doesn't seem to be sweeping down. I mean, Noble's doing a lot of that now. So what do you think of Noble's going? I know you love him that much. You adopted him and put him in your attic.
Oh, I think it was pretty good. He played to the occasion. He was 3rd highest possession getter, I think, from memory. He was everywhere. Kicked a goal from defence. Did more than Markov did.
He kicked it from inside 50.
I know that.
It wasn't from defence.
He was playing in defence. He come forward.
Okay, so he kicked it from inside.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's my words. That's not what I said.
No. I don't know. Yeah. We're losing like half the list at the moment.
Yeah, they're dropping like flies.
So you got Hoskin Elliott, who said they won't be back until the King's birthday. I believe that's when they're going to crown him.
Well, you just don't know with Hoskin. He could be back this week. You just don't know.
The goalie to be assessed, but it sounds like he's pretty questionable.
He looked fairly proppy at the end of the game. Obviously, the groin soreness. Well, they call it groin awareness. I think there's not a bloke on the planet who's not aware of his groin. So maybe give us a proper diagnosis next time.
So Mitchell's out until round 13 or so.
Yeah, so they were saying about his...
What came out of his appendicitis was an alien.
Think about it, when they removed the appendix, that stayed in his foot. Well, they actually didn't. He ended up having his appendix removed. They just traded it.
Ah, really? Is that what they do nowadays? It's probably going to blow up on the field. An interesting one, though, if you had a full list, I don't know if you could fit him in, because I think Crisp is playing inside better. And I know Mitchell's more bullocking and all that sort of stuff, but the weeks where Crisp and Nick were sharing the midfield deal, and Pendlebury was sort of playing more like a defensive mid, was like the best mix we've had so far. I was actually wondering how that would factor with the goalie. He didn't get sort of a lot of look-ins. But anyway, you got those players out. McCreary to be assessed.
Yeah, he'd have to come straight back in.
He won't be fit.
Well, we don't know how. I mean, it's obviously concussion, but that was a fairly heavy hit he took to the cheek. There was no mention of it being cracked or anything like that.
No, not
so.
Told us,
we're just playing the super cautious card.
I'd be really worried though that if he was concussed 2 weeks ago and that's still an issue, if that's going to resolve itself, in a way that's satisfactory to him playing.
Oh, I don't know. And obviously, I've got some thoughts on this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later.
I'm not a medico, but it's, yeah.
All right, and Elliott's a week-to-week proposition, so he won't play.
No, clearly not.
So we've lost half the list pretty much.
And most of it's in the forward line.
Yeah. Mychek's still out, obviously.
Potentially coming back this week.
He won't be back.
It's a Collingwood hamstring. How many weeks has it been?
Yeah, how's out?
3 weeks? 3 weeks? 3?
Yeah.
3 weeks.
How's out with he's also the groin, wasn't he? The strained groins?
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, good enough.
Was there anyone else we're missing?
From the forward line? No.
No, from the side.
From the side completely.
Nathan Murphy's not playing.
No, well, he's gone.
Yep.
Geez, it must be good playing VFL at the moment.
And the VFL got smashed yet again.
Well, because there's only 2 players out there.
Yeah, well, I've been following
Kick it to the tumbleweed.
That Will Parkers actually seems to be doing all right. He'd be an interesting one to bring up. You said they held over Kruger, which I didn't know.
Ed Allen was given best on ground nod, but I think that wouldn't be difficult at the moment.
He might be an interesting one to play in the West. He's surely his family's still down there.
Was he from there?
He's from there, isn't he? Ben Allen's son.
Is he?
I don't know.
No.
I think he's... Anyway, yeah, so he'd be one you'd have to consider, and then...
Well, that's, because if he's from there, then you've got the whole family possibly coming over there.
Thanks for catching up.
No, just
my name's Sly, it's the Collingwood Rant.
What year is this?
2021.
How are we doing?
Bucks is coach.
Is he?
He anointed Pendle as the greatest Collingwood player ever.
I see a big future in his coaching career.
All right. Any final thoughts about the Adelaide game before we go on to other stuff?
No, I think as I said, considering the outs, the injuries, all that sort of thing, I think it was quite good to get away with the 4 points.
All right. So we have a lot of injuries, and you have now question mark over the go with concussion. McInnes concussed, on top of McCreary concussed. There's another concussion there. I've forgotten who it was. And then you had obviously Murphy's career was derailed by concussion. Concussion sort of seems to be the new hamstring, new soft tissue injury.
The concern I have, like at the moment, clearly you got it all comes down to, I reckon, this class action thing that's hanging over the AFL's head. They're running fucking scared like a million miles, and clearly concussion's not a great thing to have, and you got to treat it seriously. But at the fucking attrition rate at the moment, there's gonna be no one left to fucking play. And the thing I'd messaged you about it during the game, that it's almost going to have to get to the point where you're going to need another sub, essentially, as a concussive sub. Because, you're going to have players drop out of injury, thanks to that wonderful fucking fixture that the AFL devised at the end of the year. But then you hamstring your side again with anything that looks like it's a concussive injury, and they're jumping on it, not necessarily quickly, because in the McInnes one, he played on for about another 5-10 minutes before.
It's Collingwood. He played for 3 more weeks.
He was involved in a marking contest. He looked like he was holding his eyes a couple of times. Obviously, he was shaking the cobwebs out, that sort of thing. But they assessed it later on, and then he went and did the test and took him off.
Well, you can have delayed concussion, but delayed concussion can actually happen like the next day and stuff like that too. So,
and I guess that's the thing you're going to be mindful of. But it gets to the point where and I don't want to use the word overreacting, but if you're overreacting to every little thing at the moment because of the focus, is you're going to get to a place, I reckon, where you're almost going to have 2 or 3 that are under concussive tests, which is probably almost at nearly every game at the moment now.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get to that point where you're going to be taking them off, then who comes in? You're hampering a side when it's not like a physical injury, and that's a stupid thing to say, actually, because it is a physical injury. But you know what I mean? You haven't torn a hamstring or done anything that could hamper you from playing. Traditionally, you're still that mindset that give them 5-10 minutes and their head clears and you can be back out there again.
Well, you go back to the 1990 grand final. I mean, Gavin Brown was poleaxed from behind with a coward's hit. Coward's punch.
What's a coward's hit?
I don't know. Apparently, I don't know. I would have thought hitting someone in the back of the head's pretty cowardly. Apparently, you have to be provoked. Not unprovoked, though.
Isn't there 28 different terms and conditions to this?
Yeah. Anyway, and he came back on the second half and played, but he says he doesn't remember into the first half, and Starcevic was concussed. He didn't come back on, but there's been plenty of instances where players have been concussed and played on. So yeah, it's an interesting qualification about how do you determine who's concussed, who's not, what's serious, what isn't, what's lasting, what's not.
And look, you're coming from a place where traditionally you got back onto your feet and did it again. You remember back to that one where was it Rewalt that was concussed and they had that footage of him trying to crawl back up the race. I mean, that's the sort of thing you want to avoid.
But it's Richmond. I think it's pretty common down there.
I think they were playing the footage backwards. He was actually trying to escape. Well, these days you would be.
Yeah, I was going to say so.
But you know what I mean? It's like I don't think the way that they treat it is going to become any less. You're going to have more focus on it, more people taking out of the game that's subbed out. You're going to almost need to have somebody in the wings. And maybe it could be the carryover emergency or something gets promotion rights into that game.
Well, it's an interesting...
Because the other thing is, the flip is like we played 2 down. Another concussion, potentially could have happened with DeGoey, apparently. And then suddenly you're 3 down. What does that put in terms of strain on the rest of the playing list? They can't go through the normal rotations. They can't come off and rest. Now you've elevated the risk of them getting injured. There's got to be some additional give and take, I think, brought into the game.
Well, it's interesting.
At some point, I think they will.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if you ever had a situation where, there was concussions and an ACL or whatever, usually with some guys who have like physical injuries, they'll go out there just to stand in the spot. Like I remember Goldsack a few years ago against Fremantle, he did the shoulder, but he ran out because we were just running out of players. Now you could have a situation where you have, we had 2 concussions. You might have a situation where you have 3 concussed players, and it's like, well, we can't send any of them out there. And as you said, we're just now putting the strain on everyone else to carry the load. Nathan Buckley made a real interesting point where he said there's too many situations where a team will make their sub, and then about 2 minutes after the sub, someone will get injured. And now you've got this fit player who's been subbed out who can't be used. And he was saying there should be a rule that you can then bring that guy back in, which I thought was actually interesting.
Yeah, well, the tactical sub. I mean, that's usually held over now till pretty much the last quarter. But it could be the make or break, though.
I mean, sometimes they make it a little bit early, like about 3rd quarter or something. But even if it's the last quarter and then you suffer an injury and then it's like, well, maybe you could bring him back in. I mean, Scott Pendlebury just hates the sub rule. I mean, I hate it also. Pendlebury is going, like, imagine being a first game player and just playing the whole game as a sub. So and this is what I hate too. When you look at, like, didn't really impact us or Piat Lipinski last year in the grand final. But I know in the past when teams have won flags, like the subs come on for like 13 minutes or whatever. And it's like, well, geez, good contribution to that grand final effort.
You'd take it though, wouldn't you?
I'd take it.
If you're a player, you'd take it. You'd happily take it.
Well, it's interesting when they
take the medal.
Well, it's interesting when they ask players, "Would you take a medal if you didn't actually play in the side?" And they go, "No. If I didn't play in it, then I wouldn't want to be part of it." I remember Simpkin for Hawthorn came on once. I think it was in the Fremantle grand final, last 17 minutes, and it was like, "Well, he's going to get the premiership medal. Good on you and all that sort of stuff." But you haven't really played that much of a game, so I understand what Pendlebury's point is. But you might have to just line up concussion subs and just be able to use them as required.
I agree. Something's got to give.
Well, mechanically or logistically, it's just sort of interesting how you operate all this, because the other thing too is with the fucked fixturing of the AFL. So when you're subbed out, when you're concussed, it's like an 11-day break.
Well, yeah, it's a mandatory. You miss the next week.
All right, so you miss one game, but with the AFL's fixture,
you allowed to train and stuff.
I don't know, but I was going to say with the way the AFL's fixtured this year, you could technically miss 2 games if you were concussed, and then you've had 2 more games over the next 11, 12 days, which the AFL has done this year, which is a fucked way of doing it. So I don't know, it's a really interesting one, because if that's what the standard is for, I'm not saying it's wrong, but if that's what the standard, it's just going to happen more and more, and you're going to be taxing, like I never get, like Malcolm Blight was complaining about the rotations and say it needs to be brought down even further, to like 40. And it's like, isn't this an H&S issue then? If you're sort of going, we are purposely trying to tire the players out so that they don't run more, because if they run more, they're going to risk injury. And it's like, so you're actually saying you're sending them out there to get injured or to learn to pull back.
I still don't understand why we need a cap on rotations.
I don't understand either. I think it's the most insane thing they've ever introduced.
Well, and it's all on the back of, it changed after our flag in 2010 because we led the competition in rotations at that time. They obviously thought something was rotten in the state of Denmark and put a cap on them.
But there's obviously like a peak to rotations, because at some point it's going to be more prohibitive to run players off than it is to say you just stay out there or go to, if you're in the midfield, go run to the forward pocket instead of kicking the goal and sprinting 180 metres off, everyone else sprinting on, and then playing until the next fucking rotation. Surely it would just be a lot easier just go, well, just run down to the pocket and just stay there rather than us getting 250 rotations.
But it's that stupid one of the forced one when you kick a goal, you come off.
Yeah.
What's the fucking sense of that? You're going to burn more energy running from the fucking
What's what I'm saying?
pocket down to the bench to come back on again.
So at a certain point, rotations I think would have hit a peak and they would have said, okay, 200 is about all you want. If we're going to 220, you know what? It's actually counterproductive because now we're tiring him out more by making him run on and off repeatedly. So, but then what happens when they get injured? They're trained to know when to go off. But then if there's a lack of rotations, do they know when not to go off?
Because I remember talking to Jack Kennedy after we won the flag in 10, and he was saying that the reason the rotation was so high is because they invested so much time in getting them to understand their body and what the warning signs felt like, that if you felt something coming on or potentially coming on, take yourself off, get it treated, cool down, whatever, and then come back on.
Isn't a warning sign just putting on the Collingwood jumper?
I think that's generally another warning sign. Red lights go off, apparently.
Black alert.
But now you're at the point where I wouldn't imagine that they can take themselves off, that it's all managed from the bench about when you come off, how much game time you get, all that sort of thing, and they'll stick rigidly to it until there's probably a spanner in the works that throws it out. But other than that, you wouldn't be putting your hand up saying, I'm coming off now on my bike.
Yeah, unless you had something physical, you're going, I should get this checked out. But until Ross Lyon complained about it a couple of weeks, I didn't even know the fucking runners are capped. It's like everyone's capped on the bench.
What's the sense of that? I mean, it keeps them off the field, I suppose.
Yeah, but who cares? Because they only run on when there's breaks and all that sort of shit. So what's the fucking matter? And how hard is it to go, well, I can't get the message out there through the runner. Hey, you on the bench, you run on and bring this message while you're running on.
It should be like the Navy and just have semaphore lights flashing in the stand.
You know what I'd like?
Unless you've got a condition which doesn't respond well to flashing lights.
You know what I'd like them to do? Either fuck it and just show what the time is on the scoreboard, the countdown. Because you got people on the boundary holding up 30-second signs and shit like this. So what's the fucking point? So either if you're not going to just show what the time is of the quarter, then actually ban clubs from telling the players how much time's left.
Well, they show now on the advertising fences the countdown time up till 5 minutes or something from the end or something, isn't it?
I don't know.
And then you start doing it. I mean, like if you're at the ground, you can jump on the AFL app and it still has the countdown thing going.
Yeah,
so,
I did that in the grand final.
Yeah, you can. So I tried to do it. I was like this. But yeah, so I don't see.
You're like that after the game too.
I think for the sake of us getting older and hearts failing, it'd be more beneficial to fucking know the time. Because like you do it when you watch it on the TV, you got one eye on the play and you got one eye on the clock coming down, and that fucking thing ticks like in a Hollywood movie. The second hand just goes clang, clang. And, it adds a little bit of, obviously it adds fucking a lot of tension because not only do you know, well, we've got X amount, we're in control of the ball, we should be home. The flip is the reverse when, you're not in possession and you're coming from the opposite end, that you've only got so much time to get up there and score. It has drama both ways. I think it'd be a good thing even at the ground to actually show it.
What I'm saying is either don't show it, but if you're not going to show it, then clubs shouldn't be allowed to hold up signs saying 30 seconds left.
Well, they have a fucking iPad with a big red countdown thing. So why don't they just turn that round, point it to the ground?
But what's the point of saying we're going to hide the time, but you're going to have fucking clubs who hold up signs which are actually saying, I can't remember which game it was, but one club official held up something and just said 30 seconds or whatever the fuck. And Brian Taylor goes, well, there's no mystery about that sign. So you're actually telling the players what the time is. So what's the fucking point of hiding it? You might as well just tell everyone. Or, if you're not going to tell people, then just go, well, no one's allowed to know then. And team officials and that cannot let players know either. Or fucking team officials can't know. So, I don't know. It just sort of seems like a really, really weird contradiction in the way they handle things. But it is the fucking AFL. So, apparently Rankine only ran 15 metres. They never pay that.
I mean, how long's the length of the
9.5.
square? The whole length of the square?
Oh, the whole thing. Oh, fuck, I don't know.
It's about 15 metres or something?
The goal square?
No, the centre square.
No, it's more than 15.
Is it? 25? Yeah. 25, it's probably the length that he ran. Because he bounced the ball once, he went out wide, there was plenty of steps in there.
Well, my cousin Jason pointed out straight away, because he measured him by the grass shadings, and he goes, they're about 10 metres each, and he's run basically 3 of those. And then later on, the AFL, Foxtel, they must have been listening to him because they go, well, those are like 9.5 metres each, so he's run 24 metres. So, I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Mm-hmm. You lost. Take that.
Winners and grinners.
I mean, you were really happy with Kane Corns as your new favourite media personality because he went really hard on everyone just saying, well, even if a fucking wasn't called, it wasn't like Adelaide kicked a goal.
No, it's not. It's like you're carrying on as a fait accompli they're going to win. Look, if you took the whistle being blown out of that passage, it's hit a pack. It's spilled to the ground. Tex fumbles it. The ball goes to some Adelaide suck. Frampton's all over him, and then drops it. Would have gone down to a stoppage at that point anyway, and there was only about 10 seconds left on the clock. It would have taken an absolute miracle to score from there, and by that time they would have had fucking numbers everywhere. Yeah, it just probably would have gone to another scrimmage, and
Collingwood would have been good at that. I mean, I noticed too, like sort of gone backwards, but a little bit because there's a ball up at like about 50 out from, or about 45 metres out from their goal, where Cameron grabs it and just really allows himself to be tackled and force another stoppage. And it should have been a free to Cameron because he gets poleaxed in their head as he takes a high tackle. So Collingwood just sort of keep winning the ball and allowing themselves to be tackled and force another stoppage and all that sort of shit. And they're really good at that. So they would have killed the time exactly as you said. Couple of comments on our YouTube.
Do we have one?
Yeah.
I might watch it. Is it a good show?
Hi, Sly and Spook. So I was put first.
What was that one?
Hi, Sly and Spook.
Oh, good. Hi.
Claudia LaBelle, 6932.
Is that a number?
You try it. Love your assessment on things. Always good to have a reality check. There. Take that, people who call us, particularly you, negative.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the constant coughing. I might have the Ebola virus.
Can you have it over there?
No, it's too late. JCD 8279. G'day, gents. Mid-season draft coming up. Week of round 12. What type of player do you think we should target? I would love to see us target a big key forward.
Is it Collingwood? It's fucking unheard of. I mean, you wouldn't be crying out for one, would you?
No, why would you?
No, that's exactly who I'd be going for too. What Waterson, or what is his name? Plays Waterman?
Yeah.
Where was he taken in the draft?
His father's son, isn't he?
He seemed to carry on. Blue denim in his veins. Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
I didn't know Dennis Waterman played football.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know. Yeah, my phone's over there. Don't try to check.
Ah, fuck it. Why don't you ask Siri? That'd be an interesting way of ending this episode. It'll fuck the universe.
Yeah, I don't know, but so, well, you know, you look at like Nick Larkins, pick 70 or whatever.
They've got to be out there. I think that's the key thing.
If they take someone, I'd like to see them take someone not like Ash Johnson, who's more of a running, leaping forward.
But they took him knowing he had a lot of flaws and thought they could work with him.
Yeah, I know. I'm not, but I'm just sort of saying the type of forward that we're looking for. I would rather take like a Kruger type who's going to run through a pack, rather than Johnson. I'm not criticising Johnson for the way he plays. I'm just saying it's a different type of forward entirely. He's more of a leap at the ball. Whereas I want like the Anthony Rocker type who's like, you're in my way, I'm just going to fucking kill you. Get out of the way.
Yep.
So I'd like to see him do that. I don't know if there's any of them gallivanting around in any of the VFL, SNFL.
You've got to be somewhere.
Waffle.
They've been on the phone to Ben Reid. He knows how to find them.
Yeah. Maybe he can make a comeback.
Could he?
Yeah. Would you take anyone else? Would you be looking at anything else?
Well, a midfielder. We're short of those, aren't we? That's all we seem to recruit. No, I think the defensively we're okay. Ruck stocks are a bit thin at the moment because that Steen, or was it Begg? One of them's done a PCL. Begg, I think it is. When Steen's injured, so we're still going to... I don't think there'd be too much deviation from that, but we'd be in a fucking bit of strife if Cox or Darcy Cameron went down at the moment.
I think if one of them went down, though, you'd just basically be going, well, no one's got 9 rucks on their fucking list, so...
No, well, you are limiting your options there. No, I think you got to look for some sort of key forward. Because, I mean, we're exposed at the moment. Surely the immediate need... When is the mid-season draft?
In mid-season.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, when's that?
Mid-season.
Is that in the middle?
Yeah, in the middle.
That's amazing. How do they come up with this?
So when you divide 23 by 2...
This is the AFL, so you come up with 7.
But we start at 0. So it's 24. I don't fucking know. It's in the middle of the year somewhere. apparently mid-season draft coming up, week of round 12. There you go. See, this guy knows.
What round are we in?
10,
Oh, we've got 2 weeks to wait for
11. Fuck, I don't know.
It's like waiting for Christmas. Who are we going to unwrap? What would you go for?
Yeah, I'd go for... If I was going to go for a key forward, I'd go for a key defender and then look at moving fucking more up forward or something like that. But I would love for them to get a key position stock in there, even if it's just to say, you know what, it's the only big guy there is a defender, but fuck it, we'll go play Charlie Dean up forward in the VFL for a couple of weeks, see if he's got something. I don't know how the Mychek made the transition because he was originally taken as a key defender, and I don't know what forced them to move him forward, but right now I think they're looking at Hail Marys. I really hope Kruger comes good. I think it's really interesting they didn't put Johnson as a emergency. I would hope that's not the club just saying, that's it. We've taken him as far as we can take him.
Well, he's hardly set the world on fire over a number of weeks.
But it's just like, I think, we're in round 10 apparently. But I wouldn't be sending that message to him in the middle of the year. I'd be still giving him hope to think, I'm still a chance to get back in, just do the right shit. Whereas when you're sending that sort of message out and going, that's it, we've fucking put in that line for your name. It's like, what incentive does he have to actually try for the rest of the year? But having said all that, I mean, the few times he played in defence, he was doing the right. So, I mean, that's another option. But yeah, definitely a key position player. Potentially someone, and I even look at someone like who can do a bit of rucking, and then I'd drop Cox. And, I've supported... I supported Mason Cox for, the whole time he's been at Collingwood. But in that role, they really need that Lee Brown type. He's going to do a bit of part-time ruck and then play more as a forward. Whereas Cox, I think... I thought Cox could be a fantastic ruck, but that's just hasn't been his lot at Collingwood. And playing part-time ruck, I don't think really... As I think we've seen with clubs who have two ruckmen, whenever they share the duties, it's like you're robbing both of them of the potential to be really good. It was even like years ago when we were playing Grundy and Witts. Whenever we sort of shared the 50-50, they both looked so-so. When one of them had to do it all by themselves, or the both by themselves, they suddenly looked a lot fucking better. And the other guy I'd be looking at would be Luke Parker at Sydney. I know he's on the mid-season draft, but he can't get in the Sydney team, so I'd be training John Noble for him. Playing Fremantle.
Over in the Cauldron? Is
Yeah.
that what's it called this week?
I don't know.
The cesspit?
The Longmuir.
Yeah. How are they travelling?
They beat the Saints.
Do they?
Yep.
The Might of the Saints? Is that what they were?
The Might of the Saints, yeah.
They got someone out this week or something? Did I read or
The
hear?
rugby
Or, no. Freo.
I don't know. I think Pavlich isn't playing.
Oh, yeah. What about that other bloke?
Waterman.
And how many Freo players do you honestly know?
Shane Parker.
It was Peter Bell. I remember him because he outmarked Josh Fraser.
Paul Meadhurst.
Oh, he was all right.
Chris Tarrant.
Yeah, he was all right too.
Nat Fife.
Yeah, Clement, he went all right.
Brady Holland.
They're good on the ejection from their side.
Michael Walters. Sonny Walters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can name them all. What are you doing here? Just terrible. Just hate Fremantle. Can't believe how much you hate the Dockers.
Oh, the place is nice to visit.
Yeah, you hate all that ship parking they do there, don't you?
Shit parking.
They park ships. They're Dockers.
Yeah. Is that what it means?
Isn't it? What?
Does that to do with a dock?
I don't know. I mean, we think of the stupid monikers that
Lewinsky, Ryan.
No, but you look at like the club logos. So you had the Giants, that took a lot of fucking adventure. The Dockers, let's park some ships. The Power. Why don't they go for another bird? Why don't they call themselves like the fucking Ravens?
The Ular Ravens.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been great. What a book that was.
You could have sued for copyright.
Yeah. But look at all the Blues. Who calls themselves the Blues?
Well, generally people that aren't happy.
Fuck, how good was that game?
The Carlton game.
Yeah. Fuck, Sydney looked pretty good.
They're going to be hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of fucking deficiencies at the moment. I mean, their friend Gary suggested maybe they're peaking too early.
Well, you could be right. We peaked too early.
Yeah, it could be.
In 2023. We peaked too early in 2011. We peaked in 2010. So we should have held that over a little bit.
No, they're looking the goods at the moment, though. Rightful flag favourites, I would suggest.
I would say that probably it's still a question mark. They have to play a grand final with the G. And in Longmire. Another one.
I think he was a Pirate.
Yeah, so Longmire as coach, he won in 12, and then he lost in 15 against the Bulldogs.
Yes.
Or Hawthorn.
No, they lost to Hawthorn
in 14.
Yeah.
And then they lost to the Dogs in 16.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Geelong in 22.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
So he only won.
If we play these games at the SCG, he goes, it'd be a different discussion, mate.
Well, it's fun. Oh, not funny, but I mean, they won that first one. That would have been like, yeah, how easy is this? Win the fucking flag all the time, and then lost the next 3.
Yeah, that might psychologically work against them.
Yeah. So I don't know, a Fremantle game. I'd be pretty confident if we had like 3/4 of a list, but we don't.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one to predict how much we'll lose this one by until team selection. There's some holes there to fill and not much cattle to fill them. I mean, they travelling all right? Where are Freo on the ladder?
I don't know. The ladder sort of confused me because half the teams changed to the Indigenous names, and like I was looking at the ladder and I saw Port. I can't pronounce what they changed the name to, but like they're not being racist. Like I'm sort of like looking at like half of them are the typical names, and the other half the Indigenous names. I couldn't follow who was who.
That sounds a bit racist.
Yeah, well,
why don't you educate yourself?
Because I'm an idiot. So
get on X.
But
it's full of good opinions.
Fremantle would have to be about 5 wins, I reckon. So they'd have to be on.
They'll be thereabouts.
Yeah.
Look, probably even with our injuries and taking a few underdone players over, it'd be a 50-50 game, I think.
It'll be an interesting...
One side will win, one will lose.
Well, the Anzac Day, that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, that was an aberration.
Yeah, I think we've actually matched up all right against Fremantle since McCrae's been coach. So, I reckon we'll win by 4.5 goals.
Yeah.
And Lockie Schultz will be best on ground.
Is his family coming over for this one?
I think they're already there. Oh, no, he's Victorian, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think we're on the back of Ed Allen's probably the single greatest debut the game's not yet to see. We should probably win this by 10 goals.
Well, that's good to hear. Any final thoughts?
We'll lose this by 10 goals.
All right. Like, subscribe, comment. You can see we're starting to read out some comments 7 years in.
And if you don't write, we'll just make some up.
Yeah. But until next week, later.
That was shit house.